Hi guys, Megan here, bringing you your pastoral update for the week. I just wanted to bring some thoughts that I've been having and a bit of a devotional space that I've been sitting in this week. So first I'm just going to read from some scripture and then I'll share some thoughts after about where my headspace is at the moment and what God's speaking to me about. So it's a little bit long, so bear with, but I'm going to read from Daniel chapter 3 verses 1 to 25. King Nebuchadnezzar made an image of gold, 60 cubits high and 6 cubits wide, and set it up on the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. He then summoned the satraps, prefects, governors, advisors, treasurers, judges, magistrates, and all the other provincial officials to come to the dedication of the image he had set up. So the satraps, the prefects, governors, advisors, treasurers, judges, magistrates, and all the other provincial officials assembled for the dedication of the image that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up, and they stood before it. Then the herald loudly proclaimed, "Nations and peoples of every language, this is what you are commanded to do. As soon as you hear the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipe, and all kinds of music, you must fall down and worship the image of gold that King Nebuchadnezzar has set up. Whoever does not fall down and worship will immediately be thrown into a blazing furnace." Therefore, as soon as they heard the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, and all kinds of music, all the nations and peoples of every language fell down and worshipped the image of gold that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. At this time, some astrologers came forward and denounced the Jews. They said to King Nebuchadnezzar, "May the king live forever. Your Majesty has issued a decree that everyone who hears the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipe, and all kinds of music must fall down and worship the image of gold, and that whoever does not fall down and worship will be thrown into a blazing furnace. But there are some Jews whom you have set over the affairs of the province of Babylon, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who pay no attention to you, your Majesty. They neither serve your gods nor worship the image of gold that you have set up." Furious with rage, Nebuchadnezzar summoned Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. So these men were brought before the king. And Nebuchadnezzar said to them, "Is it true, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, that you do not serve my gods or worship the image of gold that I have set up? Now when you hear the sound of the horn, flute, zither, lyre, harp, pipe, and all kinds of music, if you are ready to fall down and worship the image I made, very good. But if you do not worship it, you will be thrown immediately into a blazing furnace. Then what God will be able to rescue you from my hand?" Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego replied to him, "King Nebuchadnezzar, we do not need to defend ourselves before you in this matter. If we are thrown into the blazing furnace, the God we serve is able to deliver us from it, and he will deliver us from your Majesty's hand. But even if he does not, we want you to know, your Majesty, that we will not serve your gods or worship the image of gold that you have set up." Then Nebuchadnezzar was furious with Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and his attitude towards them changed. He ordered the furnace heated 7 times hotter than usual, and commanded some of the strongest soldiers in his army to tie up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and throw them into the blazing furnace. So these men, wearing their robes, trousers, turbans, and other clothes, were bound and thrown into the blazing furnace. The king's command was so urgent that the furnace was so hot that the flames of the fire killed the soldiers who took up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, and these 3 men, firmly tied, fell into the blazing furnace. Then King Nebuchadnezzar leaped to his feet in amazement and asked his advisors, "Weren't there 3 men that we tied up and threw into the fire?" They replied, "Certainly, your Majesty." He said, "Look, I see 4 men walking around in the fire, unbound and unharmed, and the 4th looks like a son of the gods." So from that scripture and from I guess what God's been speaking to me about, I just wanted to touch on this idea of trusting God and trusting God in the midst of massive uncertainty and trusting God in the midst of not knowing what our end result looks like. I know that North City collectively we're going through a pretty interesting time where there's lots of changes happening, there's lots of uncertainty about what the future looks like, and I know that on an individual level we all might be going through our own battles, our own struggles, our own uncertainties, but God's been teaching me that in the midst of all of that, do we really trust in Him? Every time I hear from God, or every time I guess that I feel like God's speaking to me, it's usually in a bit of a conversation, and often I'll be saying, I'm really struggling with this thing, or I don't know what the future of this thing looks like, and all I hear God saying is, yeah, but do you really trust me? So I just wanted to give you this bit of encouragement from the story of the three boys, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They knew who their God was, and they knew that they could trust Him in the midst of what they knew their future was. Even they knew that they were going into a fiery furnace, but they knew who was going to rescue them. They knew who their God was, and they knew what their future looked like. And so, yeah, I just want to put that bit of encouragement out there for you that, do we really trust Him? Do we really trust the God of heaven and earth with our circumstances and with our future? So, yeah, I pray that this would bless you and that you have a good week. Bless you all.